So we just finished doing a top five rappers of all time, again, which is not a very long time. The reason why we did that is because our first topic is going to be about Ice Cube, his plan for Black America, bringing that to Donald Trump, and on a bigger picture, how that relates to cancel culture. So basically, what happened was that early on, and I'm telling the story from the perspective of Ice Cube, um, because we've learned some things since we first started doing the story. So early on, Ice Cube had a contract um, contract for Black America, I suppose, that he wanted people in power to sign on to say that, hey, if we're in power, these are the things we're going to do um, to make
Improve.
the lives of Black people better, the lives of Black America. Um, so according to Ice Cube, he presented that plan to both the Biden and the Trump camps. The Biden folks said, hey, this is really good. Let's talk about it after the election. The Trump people were like, hey, this is really good. Come over for a meeting. Let's do something now.
Yeah.
So, Ice Cube went over for a meeting or whatever. It got publicized. I think Katrina Pearson tweeted out, congratulations, or thanks to like Ice Cube for like working with Trump and yada yada. And Ice Cube got a lot of flack for it on social media, and that's where we are. Zeus, anything to add?
No, no, you pretty much covered exactly what the background was leading up to this situation. It was just kind of one of those, and the reason I brought it up to Zeno was because it's kind of what are people wrong, or is Ice Cube wrong, or really is anybody wrong, right?
Mm.
Like, what's the problem with Ice Cube asking, hey, both of you, well, because both parties are in power. It's not, we get it. Donald Trump is the president, but both Republicans and Democrats are in power, right? Which ones do the Democrats run? The Senate?
The Democrats run the House.
The House,
The
thank you.
Republicans run the Senate.
And the Republicans run the Senate, right? But you're both in power. And the problem is the issue that I instantly had with this was the people who were giving flack to Trump. I mean, I'm sorry, to Ice Cube. You can give as much flack as you want to Trump. We're never going to argue that part. But they were giving Ice Cube flack about this and saying that, oh, you sold out and oh, you did this and, you should have waited. But the problem is, for minorities, it seems like we're told a lot of times you need to wait until after the election,
Mm.
which to me is no different than back in the day when they used to say you need to wait for rights, right? Oh, you get a lot. There was a lot of people who were in agreement that Jim Crow was wrong and that we need to change it, but you need to wait for your time to that. It's kind of like, why does it always seem like the one party that is supposed to be on our side is the one that kind of always they're kind of the main ones that tell us to wait? Because guess what? At the end of the day, if the Republicans don't want to give it to you, they're not going to give it to you, right? I
Mhm.
mean, from towards minorities. You could tell me, Zeno, if you think I'm wrong in that regard. Like, if now, do I honestly think genuinely that Trump is for this? No, I don't.
Yeah. So
But he at least knew the thing was to do is like, all right, let's add it to this platform now, opposed to let's wait until the what if, which is
yeah,
what the
yeah.
what if is.
So the thing about it, right, is that what you said first of all is correct about you know this idea that, oh no, just wait a little longer, and then we'll get to you, all that stuff. I know Ice Cube wanted concrete um concrete proposals, or some sort of like partnership to show that, hey, look, we are going to do something for Black America. I get that. Um, and by saying, hey, wait till after the election, maybe he felt like these people aren't taking this seriously.
You aren't serious.
Now, obviously, it makes sense that the Trump campaign would take Ice Cube up on his offer because, one, the Trump campaign only got 8% of black votes in 2016. They want to increase that percentage.
Hold on, wait. Are you serious? That's all they got? 8%?
8%, yeah.
Oh wow, I would have thought it'd at least be like maybe the tens.
No,
15.
no, no, 8%.
Wow.
And they want to increase that this year because that's a big voting block for the Democratic Party, regardless of who the candidate is. So yeah, and also Ice Cube is very famous. So you can have young people in Compton be like, "Yo, Ice Cube supports Trump. Maybe I should look into this."
And honestly, look, and I don't hope you don't take this the wrong way, but he's also very black. And what I mean by that, he's not
Yeah,
college.
he's not cookie cutter.
He's from the streets, right? He grew up in the streets. He's the one of the ones that made it.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
Actually, what you just said there is going to lead to my next point. Okay. He's one of the ones that made it. And there was someone that tweeted that Ice Cube seems to have an immense amount of privilege with the kind of stuff he's saying, where someone was trying to get at him for supposedly siding with Trump, right? And then Ice Cube's response was that I'm not siding with anyone, or I'm not endorsing anyone. To black folks, both of these parties are the enemies, and or both. I think his specific words is like both parties are equally the enemy, something like that. And someone responded, "It takes a lot of privilege to not be politically active for all this time, come in 2020 and do the both sides thing that Republicans always do and say, well, hey, both sides are equally as bad, for black people, when really it's one party that's actively trying to take away healthcare from low income people, which would, disproportionately affect black people, just as an example, right? That's what that person said, which is completely right? There's no
that's a valid thing to say.
It's not an equal. No. Now, have the Democrats been as good for black people as they should be? Absolutely not. But that is also the one party where you can see that the opportunities for advancement of black leadership actually exists.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think something like 90-something% of the black people in Congress, in both houses of Congress, are of the Democratic Party. Right. And the thing is, when you want things to happen for the better for your community, it helps to have someone from your community in there. Not saying that white people can't make decisions that benefit black people. What I'm saying is black people are more likely to have that at the top of their mind, that, hey, we should consider this thing because this would help black people.
You just made me think of something when especially when like certain situations come where like somebody might utter the N-word, right, and then that leads to a whole conversation, a whole situation, right? Me as a Latino, I will never know what the power of the N-word is said from a white person to a black person. I will never understand the anger that'll create. Even you as a because you're not Black American in the sense because you're Nigerian American, right?
My ancestors weren't slaves here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even you might not completely 100. You would definitely have a great idea of what it feels like.
I empathize, but yes, I don't. You're right.
100% no, because you haven't been in this country beaten down since you were like 4 years old and 5 years old, and looked at differently by cops. How many young black kids have been stopped by cops because, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, and then that just creates a certain thing. So like you said, yeah, maybe a white politician will kind of give you an idea of what we're doing, right? Because we discussed this a while ago when we talked about certain things about I forgot what we were talking about, but I mentioned about a lot of Latino shows on Netflix or on different art.
We're talking about the Oscars. We were talking about the Oscars new diversity.
Oh, that diversity agenda that they created, right? Or whatever. I don't want to say agenda because then somebody be like, it's an agenda, but the diversity criteria that they have to have in order to be nominated. The same, like, for example, you know what? I'll give you a good example in regards to that. Mayans, the show Mayans MC.
Okay.
It's a really great show. And it's a really great show that has a lot of Latino representation. All the main cast members are Hispanic, right? You know, they're Mexican American biker gang, but they're being played by different types of Latinos, right?
Mm-hmm.
The main writer is Kurt Sutter, who created Sons of Anarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got fired on after season 2. He didn't have a good relationship with Disney, and so they
Okay.
fired him. But he still has a relationship. He still has an overall contract with 21st Century. So it was just Disney specifically that part, but he still has a contract. So he was fired. But the thing is, though, he was like, "Oh no, the white boy has to leave the building because it's time for other people to tell the story." Basically saying, "Hey, I created this show. It's a representation for Latinos. Now it's time to let Latinos actually tell the story." Kind of like what's his name? The guy who did Abu. Forget his. He's a very famous voice cast member for The Simpsons.
Hank Azaria.
He quit Abu because he says, "I'm no longer going to do Abu because it's a negative stereotype," right?
I mean, yeah.
The guy on Family Guy who did Cleveland, he
Mm-hmm.
says, "I'm no longer going to voice Cleveland. I'm going to let a black person should and deserves to voice Cleveland from now on." Right. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can have, and I'm saying all this to just talk about how the Democratic Party, you guys can be there for us to create these platforms for us. And I think the problem with Ice Cube is I needed one of y'all to at least start and to include this platform. One of you is telling me to wait, but the truth of the matter is the black community really can't wait.
That being said, though, Ice Cube maybe presumed that because they weren't taking a look at his plan, that meant that they didn't have a plan, which is not true. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they've made it clear a lot of times that they have this plan for Black America. They didn't put it
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
that,
know.
but like yeah, they've always made that clear. They even made it clear in their platform in the DNC, but it wasn't his plan.
Yeah.
And maybe he saw it as another, oh, just
And
wait
then
your
I
turn,
think I
boy.
think the main thing with his plan was though he actually had numbers, right? It was supposed to be like I think what like something in the billions that are
I haven't
millions.
looked at it. I haven't looked
I
at it.
haven't really looked at it either, but it's something in he had a number of this is how much money will be invested into black businesses, right?
Yeah.
So he basically looked at it as like, look, yeah, it's great you have a plan. Hey, we have a plan. But Donald Trump has so many plans. Remember, we got a plan. We're gonna make the greatest blah blah blah, greatest, and you never tell us
Greatest
what it is.
healthcare, and yeah, we don't know
In
the
this sense,
details.
he's like, I gave you guys numbers and blah blah blah, and you guys are gonna put it. But to me, the biggest thing about the Ice Cube cancellation is the fact is, I still look at the part of it. Just seems like there's always this when it involves us and what we need. We're told to wait a lot of times,
Yeah.
and sometimes you have to just you got to punch them in the mouth in order for them to understand it. It's like, look, the civil rights movement wasn't going to naturally happen. It was forcefully going to happen, right? Rosa Parks had to sit down.
Yeah.
They had to chain themselves to certain things, right? And obviously, by the way, I am not saying that Ice Cube is a civil rights
Right.
leader or anything like that. But
well, yeah, because he isn't. I mean, like that one lady on Twitter was saying, he's essentially, she didn't use these words, but it's a term I like to use, especially for my brother who's a bandwagon fan of sports teams, and he starts joining them when they start winning. I call him a Johnny Come Lately, because yeah, and that's what this lady was saying. Like, yo, we've been in the trenches fighting for this stuff, and then you come here in 2020 and start getting mad that they're not taking your plan, and then saying that both sides of this and that. Like, we understand the nuances of this conversation. You don't, so fall back. That being said, to switch
I don't think he
focus.
should fall back, though. I don't think he needs to fall back.
Yeah. But to
everybody
switch,
should have their voices and be trying to do things that they need to do to create opportunities for their own community, right?
of course. But to switch focus more to the actual cancellation part of it, I am actually not of the opinion that Black people are trying to cancel Ice Cube. I think Black people are calling out Ice Cube. I don't think black people really cancel people all that much, to be honest. Someone might point to Daniel Cameron, the AG of Kentucky, and saying that, oh well, black people don't accept him or whatever. Yeah, we never accepted him. I mean, he's been, I'm sorry to use this word, but he's been cooning for a while now. Even when he went to go speak at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, there were a lot of like those buzzwords that were meant to trigger you into being like, the the Democrats are taking your votes for granted and assuming that, oh well, black people are just gonna vote for us, and well, I won't agree to that, and yada yada. And then not delivering justice for Breonna Taylor. Black people got fed up with that dude and like, you know what? He's not one of us. Ice Cube, on the other hand, has been of the community, will always be of the community, and with family, you have disagreements. You talk bad about them or whatever. They talk bad about you, and then they're still invited to the cookout. I don't think Ice Cube has been, disinvited.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, it was your favorite Trump though. Did your favorite Trump? Who's your favorite Trump?
So what Zeus is talking about is
you're gonna love this.
Yeah. So Eric Trump, I think it's Eric M. Trump, Eric Mediocre Trump. Yeah. So what he did was he posted he posted a picture on Twitter, which is of 50 Cent and Ice Cube sitting next to each other.
Now, 50 Cent, you could say that person, there's been a call for his cancellation, but his might be justified because he just seems to have done, he just does, you know where you came from, but he's kind of one of those people that now that he's got money, he's trying to align himself with the party that has money, But anyways, go ahead.
But so Eric Trump tweeted a photo of Ice Cube and 50 Cent sitting next to each other. It was from an original it's either Instagram post or Twitter post where Ice Cube was wishing 50 Cent a happy birthday. In the original photo, Ice Cube was wearing a hat for the Big Three, which is the basketball like company that he co-runs or whatever. And then 50 Cent was wearing something else, like a New York hat or whatever. But in this picture that Eric Trump tweeted, it was photoshopped to have both of them saying "Make America Great Again" or "Trump for America" or something like that. And Eric Trump's caption was like "Two brave Americans." And Ice Cube, never one for long soliloquies, simply replied, "Nigga, please."
With the actual picture.
Yeah.
The actual picture of the hat he had, which basically to me, that just proves that, look, Ice Cube is like, look, I want you to be on my side, but y'all ain't about to coon me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then
I'm not Uncle Ruckus.
You seem to forget where I'm from.
Yeah. They'll try to get me shot in Compton now with this bullshit. So,
that was funny.
It was great.
I knew that it came from your coming from your
favorite Trump. Yeah, he ended up deleting the tweet afterwards. Yeah. So I lost you there for a second, but
you're good. I'm pretty sure it was just you talking about how much you love Eric Trump.
Yeah. So